The first item we're going to be talking about today is the impulse grenades. Impulse grenades were added back in Season 3, so players have become very used to this item in the game, making this a pretty drastic change. Impulse grenades were a utility item that could be used for a number of reasons. You could use them to take high ground when build battling an opponent. If you're deep into the storm, they could be used to cover a lot more ground quickly and get out faster. And if the situation calls for it, you could use impulse grenades to launch an enemy off a cliff or push them back into the storm. They weren't as lethal as a weapon, but they definitely had a big effect on the dynamic of Fortnite's gameplay, and now that they're gone, Fortnite is going to feel a lot different. So how different is it going to feel? Well, for starters, I think that players that can build are going to have a much larger advantage now. I've talked about high ground and skill gap a lot in my previous videos, so for those of you guys that have watched my videos for a while, probably know what I'm about to say. Now that players can no longer use impulse grenades to quickly disengage an enemy or instantly get high ground advantage, players who have mastered building will begin to shine even more than before. By removing impulse grenades, Epic Games has created a bigger skill gap and removed another random variable that players could encounter during any fight. Number 14 on the list. Loot Lake has received 2 huge updates in a short period of time. If you didn't know, about 2 weeks ago, the mysterious purple cube that was traversing around the map landed in Loot Lake and melted into it, transforming Loot Lake into a giant bounce pad, which allowed players to quickly travel across it and sped up the general gameplay of Fortnite quite a bit. Well, with the new season came another change to Loot Lake. A large portion of the lake was removed and replaced by a windy vortex type anomaly where the house in the center of Loot Lake once was. Now that same house floats above the lake and players can get up to it by jumping into the vortex and deploying their gliders. Instead of needing to find a rift to go or launch pad to get high up into the sky, a player can now run into the vortex and launch up into the air. I think this is going to greatly speed up the pace of the game because now players that land at tilted towers can walk over to the Loot Lake, glide up into the air through the vortex, and travel around the map via their glider faster than ever before. It's also a nice change to the map because Loot Lake is more towards the center, and it's been a while since we've seen a significant change to the map to any location more towards the middle of the map. Most of the time we've seen changes to the outer edges, so it's nice to see them change something that'll have more of an effect in each and every game. And I also think this will greatly increase the amount of fun for the average Fortnite player and the pros. Number 13 on the list. There are small areas of the map that have been removed and replaced with Scorched landscape. All of these Scorched areas are spots where the cube sat for a period of time and have the cube mark on them. What's interesting about these areas is that they are now a spawn location for a new consumable item. Similar to the crystals that were added in Season 4, there's been shadow stones added to all the Scorched corrupted areas of the map. The shadow stones are made out of the same material that the cube was, and when used by a player grants them special abilities. Using one of these stones activates Shadow Form, which grants the player a number of new abilities.
What? No way, man. Phase? So does that mean you can phase through stuff like constantly? Oh my god. Dude, what am I playing right now? No, let me build! Oh my god. I'm not gonna be able to hit him. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? I only have 19 bullets. He's got a double barrel. Holy crap, that could have been risky.
While in shadow form, a player becomes invisible to enemies when stationary. The more the player moves, the more visible they become due to the shadow trail that follows them when they're moving. The player is granted an increased movement speed, jump height, and immunity to fall damage. However, the player loses an ability to use weapons when in this special mode, and the mode only lasts for 45 seconds unless the player decides to exit it sooner. I have no idea what this could mean for competitive play, but I do think these stones will make public matches even faster than before and add a lot of variety. These stones can allow players to quickly traverse the map. If you continuously use your phase mode and look directly in the sky, you can even fly with these stones and get pretty high up into the air. So they're just really great for mobility, they allow you to fly and just move a lot quicker on the map. This also means that way less players will be eliminated by the storm. I don't see these being game breaking by any means, and I do think they're a lot of fun. Number 12 on our list. Haunted Hills has now been replaced by a new location on the map called Haunted Castle. This isn't a super crazy update to the map because Haunted Hills is located on the outer edges of the map and not a lot of people go there, but it's still something that I can appreciate. It's definitely a large enough area to entice players to come land and check it out, and I think it creates a fair amount of map variety. Number 11 on the list. The Grappler, or the grapple gun, was removed from the game and replaced by a modified version that holds less shots. This new variant of the grapple gun only holds 10 shots opposed to the old version holding 15 shots. I kinda hope this weapon would be completely removed from the game and not just replaced, but I'm not gonna complain because Epic Games did nerf it. The Grappler is a huge issue in Fortnite for skilled players because it gives the ability for any player to instantly take high ground and get full control over a fight.
Okay, so we've all been in this situation before. You're playing solos, and it's probably not this high, but there's usually someone just sitting in a 1-by-1. So what do? You could knock out the bottom, you could build up to them, or you could just use a grappling hook. Instant high ground. It is completely yours. That guy is now below you and you have full control over the fight. That was so low effort, and you just immediately get high ground, have complete control of the fight. If you put a ceiling, you can immediately follow up with an edit shot. That didn't cost any materials, and you didn't have to give away your position outside of the half second it took you to get up there.
The Grappler gun accomplishes the same thing that the impulse grenades could do, but with way less risk and way less skill required. You can spam the Grappler over and over again to prevent yourself from taking fall damage, which eliminates all the risk that the impulse grenade had. At least with less shots, it's going to become less valuable to most players, and they may pick up other items instead of the Grappler when given the chance, making it less of a problem in Fortnite. Number 10 on the list. This next item I'm going to talk about was a fan favorite, and because of all the community backlash Epic has been getting for removing it, will probably make a return. Real quick, I have a challenge for you guys. If you can leave a like and subscribe in the next 5 seconds, you'll receive amazing luck for the next 2 years. Hope you did it in time, and let's get back into the video. On top of replacing the Grappler and removing impulse grenades, Epic has also decided to remove bounce pads from the game. I think this decision shook most of the Fortnite community because the bounce pads had become such a big part of the game. Over the last year, a lot of Call of Duty trickshotters have moved to Fortnite and depended on the bounce pad to get cool trick shots. Now that the bounce pad's been removed, it really hurts the experience of all these trickshotters from Call of Duty that play Fortnite largely in part for the bounce pad. Clips like these go viral on Twitter every day, and a lot of Fortnite content creators use trick shots in their videos and stream highlights. I think Epic Games wanted to remove the bounce pads to create a bigger skill gap. Similar to the impulse grenades, bounce pads are used to get high ground quickly and counter building pretty hard. So on one hand, I'm very happy to see this change, but on the other hand, I'm very sad to see them go. They were a ton of fun, even if they did diminish the skill of players that had mastered building, and I'm gonna miss them a lot. Number 9 on the list. Epic Games has made a lot of very significant changes to the main menu of the game, the biggest of which being that they removed the old locker UI and replaced it with this brand new one. This new locker is a much cleaner look than the old one, and it also allows the player to see everything that they've equipped, from their skin to the music they've selected, easily and all at the same time. Though this isn't going to change the gameplay very much, I think it's going to keep the game feeling super fresh, and personally I can appreciate that feature a lot. Number 8 on the list. When I saw that Epic Games had completely removed this next item from the game, I wanted to jump out of my chair because I was so excited. The C4 explosives have been completely taken out of the game, finally. C4 is one of the worst counters to building that we've ever seen in Fortnite. If you were build fighting someone and they had C4, they didn't even have to build back. They could just keep throwing C4s at your building over and over again and keep you from getting high ground. In a one-on-one fight, however, C4 wasn't quite as much of an annoyance. The real problem with C4 comes when you're playing duos or squads and find yourself in a 2v1 situation. One player spams C4s continuously and you can't build to high ground, while the other player sprays you down with an LMG or an SMG. Even the best players couldn't counter this unless they used bounce pads or jump pads or items that could be used to disengage the fight and run away. The combination of C4 and spray weapons is one of the most overpowered setups in Fortnite ever seen, and I'm glad that Epic finally decided to do something about it.
If I can just reload this real quick.
Next on our list is number 7. In addition to the removal of C4, Epic Games has also decided it was time for the light machine gun to finally go, increasing the skill gap even more. The light machine gun was a very annoying weapon that held 100 shots per clip and could be used in any situation to counter building and spray down another player. Again, just like the C4, in a 1v1 situation, this can be very annoying, but it isn't impossible to play against. The problem once again comes in 2v1 situations where one player is able to spray down the other enemy while the other player pushes, or even worse, both the people in the duo or squad has LMGs, and in that case, game over for you. The minigun is still in the game, however, it isn't as much of a problem as the LMG was due to the fact that the minigun does significantly less damage to both players and structures and has a startup time so it doesn't fire instantly. I don't think vaulting LMGs will affect competitive play much, considering most players in pro scene are good enough that they want guns that aim with precision over power, but we'll see. Number 6 on the list. The old main menu was removed and replaced by a new one. This is a change that happens every season though, and it shouldn't be that surprising. I will say that I think it's the sickest main menu we've seen yet. Now we have the player standing above their teleporter pad on some corrupted earth with the island floating above Loot Lake. I think it just looks really cool and I just love this one. It's my favorite one yet. Number 5 on the list. It looks like Epic is hard at work at countering the SMG spray meta because they've removed yet another SMG. Even though they vaulted the drum gun just a couple weeks ago, Epic Games decided to vault the suppressed SMG as well. The only SMGs that are left in Fortnite are the standard submachine gun and the compact SMG. Because of the fire rate on most of the SMGs, and the amount of SMGs that were present in the game throughout Season 5, SMGs were a huge issue. Most players would carry multiple SMGs to spray down builds, and it would make the game a lot less fun for people that were good at building. This is a good example of Epic Games listening to their community and making changes to their game to create skill gap again. All of these changes that have to do with building and countering building are great, and I'm glad that Epic is beginning to embrace the building mechanic again, because that's one thing that's making their game stand out from every other game out there at the moment. Number 4 on the list. The dual-wield pistols were replaced with a variant that is more rare. When found on the floor, the old pistols had a 1.49% chance of spawning. The new pistols only have a 0.88% chance of spawning now, making them one of the rarest items in the game. Which is odd because the pistols have no legendary variant on them, yet they're one of the rarest items in the game. So they didn't really need to make it extremely rare, but anyway, now you know. Number 3 on the list. Epic Games has also decided to create a new matchmaking system, completely replacing the old one. Regardless of what platform or console you're on, the matchmaking system now matches players based on their input device. This means that if the game knows that you're playing with a mouse or keyboard, it will match you against PC players, even if you are Xbox or PlayStation. If a mouse and keyboard is detected, a player will have to play against other players also entering matchmaking with mouse and keyboards. This is a really cool feature because if you didn't know, on console, a lot of players do play with mouse and keyboard, which gives them a huge advantage over console players that are using controllers. PC players will still remain unaffected by this change, so if you play with an Xbox controller on PC, you will still play against people with keyboards and mouses, but regardless, this is a pretty significant change. I can't think of any other cross-platform game that's found a way to match players based on controller inputs, so this might just be historical. Number 2 on the list. We have finally found more insight to the mysterious bunker in Wailing Woods that appeared way back during Season 3. There's been an additional bunker added to Wailing Woods that is a similar aesthetic to it that the villain layer had back in Season 3. If you go and explore this bunker, you'll see that there's a lab where it appears that research is being conducted. You'll also notice a rift located in a machine down there. I think this bunker is going to have some significance to the story of Season 6 in Fortnite. We don't really know what its use is going to be right now, but it'll probably be more apparent as the season progresses. The main significance I've found in this bunker is that it appears this is the facility where rifts were created. Now, as far as the actual bunker door itself, you can't enter it. I think this season is going to be the season it opens or something's going to happen to it. Otherwise, why would Fortnite add an additional part to it to be explored? Finally, we have the number 1 thing removed from Fortnite. The original double barrel shotgun that did 143 damage was removed from the game and replaced by a new version that only does 114 damage. This was a much needed update to Fortnite that I can definitely get behind, because the double barrel shotgun was very annoying. It was like they patched the double pump shotgun and then they added double barrel shotgun that was pretty much the same thing. So now they've nerfed it a bunch, everything makes sense in Fortnite again. Especially in a meta where shotguns require a lot of precision to get high damage shots, the double barrel did nothing but spit in the face of good players. Yes, it only had 2 shots before it had to be reloaded, but those 2 shots could be fired super quick, and the double barrel had the potential to do more damage than any other weapon. On top of that, it also had the largest spread out of any shotgun, rewarding players who weren't very accurate at all. I think this is going to change the final circle for both competitive and public matches, because in close range situations, the double barrel shotgun is going to be used far less, and everybody will be on a more leveled playing field. So that's all 15 things that were removed from Fortnite Season 6. Every update they made to the map will either speed up the game or create a bit of variety. Every gun they removed or replaced was super annoying and had a lot of balance issues. Now with all these changes, there's going to be a much bigger skill gap, and players who are accurate and have mastered building are going to be rewarded a lot more for grinding the game hard enough to get better at it. The only item they removed that I'm somewhat upset about is the bounce pad, but I can see where they're coming from, but they really were so much fun. While they were really fun, they did reduce skill gap, and that's clearly something Fortnite wants to increase rather than decrease. Also, it's important to note that all the vaulted weapons are still available in Playground, so you can still enjoy them with your friends if you want to. However, they are out of the main game. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and it's been Exility. Have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.